Welcome to another Fortify Your Faith. This episode is on consolation and desolation. These are two movements in the spiritual life. It's like consolation, this closeness to God, one's felt closeness, and God wants to draw us to Him. And God gives those. It's kind of like graces with sugar on them, and He wants to draw us closer to Him and inflame our hearts. In a previous episode, I mentioned there can be the danger of getting fixated on the good things, the felt closeness, but the importance, but to receive those good things, always with humility of saying, "Thank you, Lord. Help me keep my focus on you, not on the gifts per se, but more so help me just remain faithful and grow in love of you." So consolations, by and large, aren't the difficult part of the spiritual life. It's the desolations. When one feels far from God, of how to properly respond, and so that you don't get derailed in your spiritual life. So the response to desolation, one of the temptations with desolation is just to kind of give up, kind of like, well, this is dry, nothing's going on, I might as well just stop praying or start cutting my time in half or altogether. So the response to desolation is, nope, I need to remain faithful. Remain faithful that, Lord, okay, there's a reason for this. Help me remain faithful. Sometimes there's an area of my life where I need to bring it to the Lord, where I'm trying to ignore it. It can be an area of serious sin. It can be an area of some other habitual thing where I'm just kind of like dancing around it, and God's like, well, it's going to be dry until you bring that to me. We need to address that. But the important, or it can just be the Lord wants to stretch us, help us go deeper. And part of that stretching is kind of pulling back from the consolations, so we can cling more, attach more firmly to Him and to His will. So staying the course, not making changes in the time of desolation. I mean changes in terms of major changes in your spiritual life. So continue to pray, kind of keep your routine, your schedule, and then in prayer, when you're in desolation, especially in prayer with dryness, you can be tempted to like, well, I'll just cut off a couple minutes. When you get tempted in prayer to cut your time short, you should do the exact opposite. You say, okay, I'm going to stretch myself. I'm going to go another minute or two longer to be with the Lord. All right, as a way of counteracting that temptation to cut short. And it doesn't just mean like the idea came through your head, but it's kind of really gnawing on you, or you're really considering like, yeah, maybe I should. No, wait, I got to push back. So that's kind of pushing the desolation and kind of saying, no, I'm going to extend myself by giving a little more than I planned on. Instead of cutting short, I'm going to go a little further or a little longer. And part of this desolation, God gives us desolation, so to see just how weak we are on our own in prayer, because we can get like, look at how consolation can give this false sense that I'm really holy, I'm really close to God, and desolation helps give it like, wow, this is a gift from God. I can't. Ultimately, Lord, you're the one. I'm a beggar, but God always provides the graces we need. His graces are sufficient. So even when we don't feel close to God, He still is pouring graces on us, and we just need to be open to receive them by remaining faithful to our prayer commitments, our duties in life. And so the part of the desolation is just that we kind of just to rely all the more on God. And it's not about feeling close. It's about suffering for the Lord, kind of extending ourselves in love for Him. That's more important. And in times of in consolation, it's the time really to, especially humility, because we can think, well, I feel close to God, and so to temptation, a kind of a certain pridefulness of look where I, as well as it's the humility, Lord, I wouldn't experience this if it wasn't for you. Thank you, and help me receive and use the graces you're giving me well. In times of desolation, it's the virtue of hope, of kind of kind of like, okay, God, the storm is going to pass. Help me just remain faithful. You're doing something. And there can be almost an overly emphasizing of worrying, am I in desolation or consolation? I think it's just kind of, it's like the weather outside, you're aware of it, but it doesn't, not to consume your thoughts. And so, because that can be problematic if it's kind of, I'm in desolation constantly. Okay, how do I get out of desolation? It's more of, no, how can I grow in desolation? How can I grow in the midst of this and knowing this is going to pass? This is only temporary, and kind of weathering that well. So consolation, desolation are just part in the sense of closeness or feeling far away from God, but knowing how to properly address them is very key. So consolation, to receive, humbly receive what the Lord is giving, and ask, kind of just, Lord, help me just remain humble, prepare for when desolation comes. Lord, help me just remain faithful, kind of be more, solidify in my fidelity, my devotion to you, Lord. And then when desolation comes, that's really okay, stay the course, kind of extend myself. I'm tempted to cut short, and really that importance of hope. Okay, God, this is only a time, but help me grow in the midst of this. Your grace is always sufficient for me.